Thank you.
From my point of view, I want to understand what's the UN mandate, and were you able to carry that out? And because subsequent to the event, I think I heard you on radio saying you supported the government's action, and that was an attempt to reassert control. So up to now, do you still think that the government action was proper, and also you had carried out your UN mandate properly? Thank you.
I'll answer the second part of your question first. First of all, I never said that I supported the government action, and I think this should be categorically stated and reiterated here. I never supported the government action. We were never consulted. We were only given 12 hours notice that this would be happening, and as you said yourself, and as I said earlier, we were in fact ourselves to a large extent denied access to the camp. What I have said publicly is that I was not surprised by the government action. I had been saying all along, also publicly, including to the Vietnamese themselves, that if demonstrations and hunger strikes and the disruptions that had created in the camps, because even though they were peaceful generally, life was not normal in the camps, that the government would use any excuse, any pretext to crack down and to reassert its authority. And that's one reason I had been appealing all along to the Vietnamese, please stop your demonstrations. You've made your point. Your message has been heard loud and clear. It doesn't serve anyone's interest for you to continue. Don't give the government an opportunity, in effect, to crack down. But of course, 2 months of counseling and advice from us led nowhere. So we did not support the government action in the sense of being involved in its planning or endorsing the use of tear gas or force or violence. I mean, that goes without saying. One tear gas canister is one too many, one injury is one too many. I myself, when I witnessed the tear gassing of these people on the rooftops when I was watching this on TV, I was quite taken aback and quite shocked. At that point, I felt that the best we could do, of course, was, as part of our broader mandate, to stay on top of the information and to raise with the government, perhaps not publicly and by making major declarations, but in the usual quiet, effective way that we do business with the government, to raise issues and matters of concern to us. In fact, the following day, on the 8th, I raised with the government a number of our concerns following the events of the previous day. So our mandate in these detention centers, and I remember hearing a previous speaker saying that doing protection work in the context of detention centers is almost a no-win situation. And he's absolutely correct. For us to do protection in detention centers is very, very difficult, especially when most of the people are not refugees, especially when most of the people have the opportunity to go home and they won't avail themselves of this opportunity to walk out of these prisons and go home and to, in fact, liberate themselves from these harsh and uncertain detention centers. Because today it's one problem, tomorrow there's going to be another problem, and there have been problems in the past as well. So I think problems and difficulties are endemic to the existence that these people lead in these detention centers. Even more reason why we feel that they should volunteer to go home with us, because this is really no life to be leading.
Christine, short follow-up, Madam Chairman. Yes. You said you never supported the action and were not consulted, but you were told 12 hours in advance. Did you protest at the time to the government saying that's no way to handle the issue? And how many of you people were denied access? 2 got in. How many failed to get in? Thank you.
We were given 12 hours notice. What I asked at that point was to have some details as to what arrangements are being made, because I was told that a large number of police and CST officials would be going in. I put the question to the government as to why do we need so many human resources involved in this operation, which is, at least the way it was described, it was a simple transfer of people from one location to another location, which they have done in the past and to which we cannot object. They said that, look, given the current climate in these camps, given the tense situation in the camps, given the backdrop that exists in the camps, we're not talking about a normal situation. We have to go in with a full show of force in order to prevent and preempt and discourage resistance and thereby prevent any clashes and bloodshed and violence from taking place. If the Vietnamese see that they're outnumbered and that the odds are clearly stacked against them, they would be less likely to put up a fight. And we went in there in order to prevent a fight, prevent bloodshed, and as far as they could, as security or police experts, as long as they could see, the best way to prevent such a situation was to go in with a full show of force. I also asked what other arrangements have been made. They said that the medical facilities, both in High Island and in Whitehead, have been alerted and informed of this operation. In fact, they told me that the British Red Cross in High Island was informed 1 or 2 hours before UNHCR was that an operation of this sort was to take place the following morning, and they had alerted the medical services in Highland, and they had beefed up their own medical infrastructure and services in Whitehead, just in case. So they assured me clearly that they wanted no trouble, they wanted no violence. It was not in their interest to do so, but that just in case things got out of hand, because you never know what will happen in these types of situations. I asked them, can you confirm that the medical side, at least, that the communication side will be smooth, and they confirmed yes. Now, as far as how many of our staff didn't get in, we have, off the top of my head, some 30 to 40 staff who can go to Whitehead any given day, staff of all categories. And we were told that access is denied, but of course we decided among ourselves, among UNHCR staff, that we would nevertheless go to the camp anyway, because there are 6, 7 other sections in the camp that will require our services. Section 7 is just one section, and we want to continue with our normal work, so to speak, to the extent possible. And that would also be an opportunity for us to know what's going on and try to be on top of things. And as I said, we tried to enter the camp, and only two of our staff were allowed in, and one was confined to the office.
Christy.
Just some clarification. Mr. Sadi, you said that one of the reasons that the government told you that they had to go in the manner which they did was that there was a very tense atmosphere. Would you agree that there was tense atmosphere in Section 7 itself? The other clarification is, would you agree that there was no prior discussion with the people who are going to be removed? And if they had been given some information, do you personally believe their removal would not have been so difficult? I'm also concerned about exactly what information you were told 12 hours before. Apart from the number of people, were you told that gas machines, pepperfront machines, and mace would be used?
Saki?
Thank you. Well, the information we were given, as I said, was along the lines that I already described. I was given the numbers of men who were to be deployed, which, as I said, they did not say to me that they would be carrying tear gas or mace and so forth. I should also add that they did assure me that before going in effect, with that full show of force, they would do their best to counsel and inform the population. They said that we would first go in with the CST, not necessarily with the police, the CST people who know the refugees and the refugees know them. We would go there and say to them, you are being transferred to High Island, no more, no less, because obviously this fear of being deported, of being forcibly repatriated to Vietnam would be paramount on people's minds. So they said that before we go in, we're going to try to talk to the people, inform them as to what is happening, what is about to happen to them.
Atmosphere in Section 7.
The atmosphere, again, this is a matter of judgment. I can say that things in the camp had not been normal for 2 months. The demonstrations were generally peaceful. Hunger strikes, of course, were going on at the same time. We had information that from time to time, women, pregnant women, children were being denied food or water. It happened in High Island, where we had a very serious situation. But even though the atmosphere even though the demonstrations had been generally peaceful, and that's to the credit of the Vietnamese, I think, things were not normal. Things were not normal. And we had also received reports that both the government and the Vietnamese themselves were anticipating worst-case scenarios, were getting ready for this or that event to take place. Everybody, in a sense, was trying to prepare themselves for something or another.
So, my question was, Mr. Asadi, in your own judgment, would you consider, as a matter of your judgment, that the atmosphere was tense? It may not have been normal because there were people hunger striking, but was it tense?
I don't think it was as tense as perhaps the government says it was, but we too felt maybe a lesser degree of tension. Again, here they may have information that I don't have. I'm not saying that we have the best information in the detention centers. UNHCR itself, as you know, is not deeply admired or loved by the Vietnamese in the detention centers, and the main reason for that is because we're advocating that they return home voluntarily, and they don't want to. So the bottom line is that we're working towards something they don't want, all other things being equal. So our information for the past 2 months was that, yes, things are tense, things could get worse. The Vietnamese could up the ante, the government could up the ante. That's why we've been trying over a 2-month period of counseling and dialogue to try to tell the Vietnamese, please cut this out. Don't give the government any pretext to crack down. And the government, for its part, had been conducting discussions and negotiations. I know the deputy refugee coordinator had been to see the representatives of the demonstrators and the hunger strikers on a number of occasions as well. So I think we all expected something to happen because this could not go on. I can't tell you precisely what, because nobody could predict exactly what would happen. But given the uncertainty of things and the unpredictability of events, this is precisely why I have been counseling the Vietnamese from the very start, and publicly as well, that do not give the government an opportunity to crack down, because nobody will win in that kind of situation.
Why?
我想專員答一答。第一樣嘢，當政府12個鐘頭之前話俾佢聽話要進行呢件事，佢有冇要求，有冇提出其他方法，唔用咁嘅方法咧，可以解決得到，或者唔用咁多人啊，或者咁多嘅手段啊，各方面嘅嘢。第二樣嘢，當佢如果知道一定要進行嘅時候，聯合國難民公署係好關心啲難民嘅。咁佢如果知道咁嘅事幹，佢有冇要求佢哋參與呢件事幹，最緊係可以做觀察，睇件事幹係點樣，睇政府俾唔俾佢。第三樣嘢，當佢知道政府咧做咗呢件事幹之後，嗰件事幹咧係可以咁樣個殺傷程度係嚴重到咁犀利咧，佢唔見難民公署咧出嚟講及到話嗰啲人受到嘅損害同埋等等嘅嘢，佢覺得政府喺呢件事幹做咧，佢哋好自覺喺度咧，政府都冇乜做錯到咁樣，咁我覺得好奇怪，點解難民公署咁嘅態度咧咁樣？
First of all, I think sometimes the fact that we predict things correctly gives the impression to people that we support those events when they do take place. So I think I'd like to make a very clear distinction. I would be remiss in my duties if I did not counsel the Vietnamese the way we did during this 2-month period. And I regret, and I'm deeply sorry that these events took place. But as I said, I was not surprised by it. Now, some people can interpret that to mean, well, then you supported it. Of course we didn't support it. I mean, that's clear. For me, I don't need to defend our position on this. Who could defend asylum seekers being inflict greater punishment and pain on themselves? And 3, being seen to be associated with a government operation. Even before the 7th of April, we have often been accused in the past of being too close to the government. And this would have been yet another opportunity for our critics to say, you see, this was a joint UNHCR government operation. So for these 3 reasons, on the very short time that I had to plan our response, if you will, these things have to be
主
considered.
席，我可唔可以跟進一個好簡單嘅？就即係當你知道政府係講個大話，又話200幾個催淚彈，甚至500幾個，即係政府咁樣做法咧，而家嗰個我哋覺得嗰個調查咧唔夠透明度，即係呢樣嘢咧。譬如你哋嘅立場係點樣咧？喺呢件事幹上邊？
In fact, we are conducting our own I wouldn't say investigation, but our own inquiries. We would do it whether the government was credible or not in its statistics, whether there was independent inquiry ordered by the governor or not. We would be doing, as is normal for us, our own fact-finding. As I said earlier, the day after the operation, when I received certain reports, certain disturbing reports, I raised them with the government right away. And my staff are investigating some of these reports to ascertain the facts, because we don't want to speak up unless we have our facts. That sometimes takes time. And we will be contacting the government on some of these allegations if indeed our information is accurate. So I don't want to comment on how the government conducted the aftermath of the operation by way of how it gave information and statistics and facts. But I can tell you that we would, as is normal in any type of situation of this sort, be conducting our own fact-finding missions, and we will raise with the government issues that we feel that we should raise with them.
Howard?